Judge President of the Division of Limpopo, Limpopo Provincial Division, good evening to you. Good evening, Judge Homu, and all the judges in the room, good evening to you. Distinguished guests, good evening to you too. Tonight marks a very important day on the calendar of this province. Tonight is about bringing access to justice to this province. And thank you very much for making the time to celebrate this occasion with us. Having said that, please allow me to invite a colleague, Advocate Mphahlele, to the podium, ladies and gentlemen, to formally welcome our guests tonight. Please put your hands together to Mr. Advocate Mphahlele.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Program Director. And please allow me, on behalf of the Polokwane Society of Advocates, to welcome you all to this historic occasion. I do not hold a brief to request any person I will be mentioning to identify himself or herself. I'll take that, therefore, I will not be requesting anyone to do so. This launch will not have been possible if it wasn't for the visionary foresight and the leadership of the Department of Justice and Correctional Services, together with the Limpopo provincial government, in establishing the Polokwane High Court. Therefore, Madam Program Director, today we are privileged and honored to have amongst us the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. I made to understand he's on his way, and we will welcome him properly as he comes to the hall. But however, this occasion has also been graced by the members of the Executive Council of the Limpopo Provincial Government. Amongst them, we have the first citizen of the province, Mr. Chupu Stanley Matabat. Can we give him a cricket, please? We also have the MEC for Cooperative Governance and Human Settlement, Ms. Makoma Grace Makurupeja. We also have amongst us the MEC for Agriculture, Joy Matsuche. We also have amongst us the Honorable Mrs. Dikeledi Makatsi, who is the Member of the Parliament nationally. This occasion has also been graced by members of the traditional leadership of the province. I'm made to understand we have amongst us Khoshi Dikhali, who is the Chairperson of the Limpopo House of Traditional Leaders. I'm also made to understand we also have Khoshi Raphahlelo and Makhoshi Raphahlelo. The formation of the Polokwane Society of Advocates coincide with the formation of a fully functional Limpopo High Court, which is headed by our newly appointed Judge President. And Madam Program Director, allow me to welcome the Judge President of the Limpopo High Court Judge President Ephraim Mahoba. This occasion has also been graced by members of the judiciary. Amongst them, we have the following judges. The Deputy Judge President of Gauteng, Deputy Judge President Mushapilu. I'm also made to understand, and I've seen amongst us that we also have Judge Khomu. I'm made to understand that also Judge Mabuse will be in attendance. And there's also Judge Greg Wright. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome all the advocates and the attendees that are present today. I have a limited time, and as such, I would not like to waste time and recognize each and every one of you individually, save to acknowledge the presence of the following members of the legal profession. I'm made to understand that the following senior counsels are amongst us. Advocate Semenya SC, Advocate Nazir Kasim SC, Advocate Mkeps Mutimele SC, Advocate Tsepo Sibeko SC, Advocate Jean Malindi SC, Advocate Mos Mpara SC, Advocate Nana Makubela SC, Advocate Tami Ngongwana SC, and lastly, Advocate Lesoro Monsu SC. Advocates and attorneys present here will be pleased to know that we also managed to secure the presence of potential clients for them. Present amongst us today, we have representatives from the state attorney, we have representatives from private firms of attorneys, we have representatives from Vodacom, mining industry, municipalities, lecturers from the University of Limpopo and Venda, chairpersons and CEOs of various state-owned entities and parastatals. Let me just make specific mention of a few guests that are amongst us. I'm made to understand that present is Ms. Anek Lansing, the Dean of the University of Venda. Also present here is Mr. Sean Abrams, the National Director of Public Prosecution. Mrs. Jane Tupana, the Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. Mr. Ndumiso Matlala, the CEO of Limpopo Tourism. Mr. Tulani Zulu, the CEO of Gateway Airport Authority Limited. Mr. Machi, the CEO of the Road Agency Limpopo. Mr. Mashile Mukono, the Chairperson of Limpopo Gambling Board. Mr. Sarobi Maja, the CEO of the Limpopo Gambling Board. Mr. Kabun Kalime, the CEO of Corridor Mining Resources. Mr. Nkensani Tlungwini, the CEO of Great North Transport. Mr. James Shirinda, the CEO of Risima Housing Society. Mr. Tsepo Petla, the Acting Managing Director, Leader. Molale Maponya, a member of the Limpopo Consumer Court. Mr. Mangena, the member of the Limpopo Consumer Court. Most advocates from this province practicing law in other provinces, in particular Gauteng, are doing so because they have made no conscious decision to do so, but they did so due to the material conditions of that time. From this day onwards, let no one, in particular let no child of this province, migrate to any other province merely for the purpose of practicing law at a high level. Let Polokwane Society of Advocates be a bastion of all aspirant counsels, young and old, who intend to be proficient in the art of advocacy. For that purpose, Polokwane Society of Advocates should be a home of most eminent advocates of this country. Let no junior counsel struggle to identify a senior that would lead him or her in complex matters. We will strive to provide better service to all our clients. I think it is opportune on this momentous occasion to state that as much as it is every parent's pride to bring a young baby to life, all men and women who dedicated themselves to the formation of this bar are proud to be founders of this prestigious organization. It shall be inscribed in the history books the commitment they all had of contributing to the development of the legal services of this province. Having worked with them tirelessly during the formative stages of this organization, I'm humbled by their love and commitments toward the development of the province and the people of this province. You shall, however, be remembered and counted for your foresight and the love of this province. No client of this province will ever have to pay toll gates in search of good counsels. We are here to provide good legal services to all our clients, and we are here to stay. Polokwane Society of Advocates has its chambers that are located at number 39 Fort Trekker Street at corner building stand opposite the new High Court. It consists of about 64 advocates with 4 senior counsel. In respect of my senior counsels, I therefore hold the brief that when I introduce them, I can let them stand up. And for that, I would want to introduce the following. I hope all of them are present. Our senior counsels in the bar are the following. That is Moroka SC. If he's present, may he please stand up. And my colleague, Lindy Ngosi Thomas SC, may you please stand up. My other colleague, William Mukari SC, may you please stand up. My other colleague, Matibedi SC, may you please stand up. Also amongst us we have Philip Mukwena SC, may you please stand up. And lastly, I haven't seen him, I hope he's around. We have Shakwane SC, if he's around, may you please stand up. I haven't seen him around, hopefully you'll join us. This bar will only develop and grow by producing good advocates. It can only produce good advocates if it invests in the development and training of our youth. At this day and age, when everyone is complaining about lowering of standards, the Polokwane Society of Advocates commits itself to be exemplary in upholding the high standards of the legal profession. Impossibility to me is found in the dictionary of fools. With commitment, hard work, and sacrifice, I believe we will be able to achieve our goals. Our services to the people of Limpopo will be of high standard of professionalism, skills, and advocacy. Let me take this opportunity to thank you all who has made it possible for the idea of forming this bar to come to fruition. Lastly, we at the Pretoria Society of Advocates are greatly indebted and humbled by all of you for your presence today. We hope you will enjoy with us this day. Thank you very much.
I see her floating lazily through the market like a butterfly. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Advocate Mpahlele, and for your
One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? One, two, 1, 2. Can you hear me? Are you happy? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
On our phone, what
1, 2, 1, 2. But you can get us.
Oh, damage will go there. I get it. All they want. Michael no sharp all the while. Oh, one of those, yes. It's all the while. Michael no one is. One, two, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Can you still hear me? Okay, are we okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 1, 2. Aku beile mo. Ke beile mo ka mo. Agre wona e ba tlo bolela.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Okay, sharp. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check.
Is it okay now? 1 2, 1 2. Can you hear me?
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check. You can hear me? No, I don't know. I don't know what was wrong. It's fine. I don't know.
I'll remember them. How many are there? What's his title? Title height? Just that.
Yeah, Dr. Mfuna, Department of Health, Medical Legal Section.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I request all of us to be seated? Ladies and gentlemen, please. It's not working. This one, is it working? It's not, it's not. The mic is not up. Ladies and gentlemen. I wish to acknowledge Judge Patuli, who has since
joined us. Chairperson, you are welcome.
One, two, one, two. Okay.
Highly esteemed member of the Johannesburg Bar, and I am
Can you still hear me?
ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you the
So,
chairperson of this
Zomela,
very society
Maguzi guest. Sure,
this evening, Advocate William Curry.
Thank you, Program Director. Although my colleagues prepared a speech for me because they wanted me to say certain things, I thought that I will speak from the heart because of the importance of this occasion. Honorable Premier, I'd like to thank you for honoring this occasion with your presence. Its importance indeed required your presence. The Minister of Justice is on his way. In fact, I would have loved to speak in his presence, but unfortunately for some other reason, the program director called me before he arrived. But anyway, he will get the message. But I'm also humbled that he took his time to come and be part of this history in the making. The Judge President of the newly established Polokwane High Court. I thank you as well for honoring this occasion, particularly that you are the first Judge President of the first High Court to be established by statute in this province, the Superior Courts Act. The Superior Courts Act 2013 established the court in this province and another high court in Mpumalanga. And that to us is significant because never before in the history of South Africa has this province had a high court. And I'll return to this later in my speech so that we can see its importance. I'd like as well to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Judge President of the Gauteng High Court, who is based in the South Gauteng High Court. The reason why I say that the Deputy Judge President of the Gauteng High Court is because Gauteng has one court with Johannesburg as a local division. Justice Mujapelo, we are also humbled by your presence as well. The presence of the other judges, Judge Homo, Judge Wright, Judge Patuli, and other judges that I may not have seen, we are indeed humbled by your presence, because we know that when we made this call to you, you understood that we are indeed making history in this province. There were other judges who wanted to come. In fact, I must announce to you that when we issued the invitation for the first time, about 20 judges have accepted the invitation, but due to family and other commitments, they cancelled. But they have, those who managed to do, sent me weights of support, and they have specifically said to me, we understand what you have done, and we in fact support it wholeheartedly. The Judge President of the Gauteng High Court, Justice Mlambo, phoned me to say that he wished to be here, but due to family commitments, he was unable to come, and hence he ensured that Justice Mujapelo is with us today. To the members of the legal fraternity, but before I come to the members of the legal fraternity, who are my colleagues, let me go a little back and say that, Honorable Premier, I thank you for also coming to this occasion, not alone, but with members of the executive. And I wish to also acknowledge their presence. The MEC is present here. It shows that indeed you have accepted that this is an important occasion. Then let me come to my colleagues in the legal fraternity, to the advocates who practice law in the Republic of South Africa, black and white. I wish to say the following. South Africa is a country in the making, in the sense that it's a democracy which has existed only barely 21 years. It is a country which was torn apart by racial divisions, where black and white could not practice together law as equals. With the ushering of democracy in 1994, it ensured that black advocates can now stand up in court as an equal and argue the same law as they can, given the intellectual capacity that they can unleash to the court. Since that time, how far have we gone in ensuring that we integrate not only the presence of ourselves in the court when we address the judges, but integrating ourselves in terms of our mindsets, our attitudes, and respect for one another. The establishment of this bar is in fact a culmination of a desire by those who came together to say that, given that this province now has a high court, we must have a respectable bar established in the province. This bar was established as a non-racial bar association. It is in fact non-racial indeed, but it is predominantly black for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons because the demographics of South Africa dictate things to be that way, that in fact the majority will be black. But it does have white members as well. You'll see that George Diamond, the first white member of this bar, will also be addressing you shortly towards the end of this occasion. So to the advocates present here, your presence is symbolical in the sense that you represent the aspirations of the many advocates who did not make it here. But not only that, the aspirations of the many advocates who never had an opportunity to practice law simply because the material conditions did not allow them to do so. You represent those who gave up. They threw in the towel and said that we can no longer cope when we cannot have any brief. You actually represent those young men and women at the universities, those who are studying law, who are still thinking whether it is worth it to study it. Today you are actually saying to them, study hard and pass. Then come to the bar and do pupillage, the legal training that we provide, and practice law with us as an equal. I thank you for your presence, especially given that most of you have busy schedules of having to execute briefs on behalf of your clients. To the attendees present, this occasion represents the beginning of a partnership that must last for a very long time. A partnership between you and the advocates that you brief in terms of the structure of our profession, the ethical rules, that advocates will not take instructions directly from a lay client. And you remain the bridge between the advocate and the client, but you also remain an important pillar to the advocate's ability to execute his brief with abilities that he may have or she may have. Your presence here should also serve to interact with the advocates and start building relationships. So I also am indeed very humbled by your presence here. We have also invited members of the business fraternity because we understand that the partnership exists between business, the legal profession, and government. There's a partnership which must be grounded on the desire by each one of these sections of society to dispense justice to all. Of course, the courts play a critical role in that. I am also humbled by the presence of members of the business fraternity who ensured that they honor this occasion. To members of civil society, because we're all part of it, you are the backbone of it, you are the backbone of the country, the backbone of our democracy. To the ordinary men and women of this province, rich or poor, I say that here we are, we've come to this province to bring to you the best legal practice at your doorstep. Our members will execute the briefs they get, irrespective of from who or where they come from. Because their ethical duty is to represent their clients with the best intellectual capabilities they have. Our members remain independent and independent-minded, but they also understand that their independence must be guided by the ethical rules of the profession. This bar association is an independent bar association affiliated to the General Council of the Bar of South Africa in order to make sure that all our members adhere to the ethical rules of the GCB. And that is critical to dispensing to the members of the public quality legal services. We wish to have members who can stand on their feet, members who are fearless, members who are never afraid. Those who are afraid achieve nothing in life. Success is for the brave. And this message is to the members of this society. I'm saying this because they're never going to achieve success easily. It is going to be difficult. They still have to ponder whether the briefs will come, and they still have to imagine how those briefs have to be executed if they come. They still have to think about many things. They still have to overcome many obstacles. But all I say is that those who wish to build the future in the legal fraternity, don't give up. Don't give up, because success is for the brave. This province is largely rural. What that means is that your practice of law in terms of a mindset may differ from the practice of law in Gauteng, where you largely have to represent people in an urban setting. Here, we're going to be confronted with people who largely come from rural areas. Be patient with them. Understand that they don't have the money. And this is all because of historical settings of our country. Give them justice in accordance with your ethical principles, that those who can't afford, they still deserve to be represented by you. And this is a commitment that I would like the members of this bar to make. Because if they don't do it that way, the formation and existence of this bar is worthless. Because it will be the same as a business entity geared at making profit. To us, we're looking at building a bar association consisting of members who are able to first sit down with their clients, whether it is government or private sector, or whether it is civil society, whether it is a man or a woman in the rural area, and understand what the legal problem is. dissect that problem in accordance with your understanding of the law. And if your instruction is to go to court, prepare thoroughly for the argument. When you arrive in court, argue like an advocate. And when I say argue like an advocate, I mean that argue without fear. Because your duty is to assist the court to come to the correct decision, to the correct judgment, not the wrong judgment. So your duty is to assist the court to arrive at the correct decision, the correct judgment. How are you going to do that? If you stand in court and you first do not believe in yourself, and secondly, you do not believe in your argument, let me possibly then to allow the Minister of Justice to take a seat. Welcome, Honorable Minister. When I started this speech, I said that I would have loved to deliver it in your presence. I'm happy that you arrived before I descended. But welcome. Let me turn to the message. How do you dispense with justice if you first do not believe in yourself, and secondly do not believe in your argument? And this is a shackle that we need to get rid of. Members of this bar must be members who are able to stand up in court and argue in such a way that when the client is seated at the back, he or she must say in her heart, "There is my advocate." Not members who, when the client is seated at the back, then all what the client can do is to look down and say, "What has gone wrong?" Or the client saying that, "Why am I not being represented by the opposite side?" This is the reason why we said that we're going to establish this bar association and call it the Polokwane Society of Advocates affiliated to the GCB. And that this association should consist of men and women of character, of principle, independent, and fearless. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe I started at the end, or maybe in the middle. But let me go to the beginning, because the beginning always makes you understand how you go into the future. The road that you travel is planned before you start it. I was born in this province, in the beautiful mountains of the Waterberg. I'm happy to return to this province because as I drive on the N1 and I look on the sides, I can still see those mountains that I was born, and I can still see their beauty. And I always say, it's good to return to this province. But not only that, I was mindful of the fact that this is a province that during apartheid years was so neglected that it was often regarded as the poorest of the poor. But this province reminds me of the time when gold was discovered in Johannesburg, when everybody in the southern Africa was flocking to Johannesburg to earn a better living. Today, as we sit here, 50 to 100 years to come, this province will be the Johannesburg of our country. For the beautiful minerals that it has which have been unearthed, this is a province which houses the biggest power station in Southern Africa and Africa as a whole will be. This is a province which is likely to have the first city to be built in the new democratic South Africa, Lephalale. This is a province which has produced the best educated people, the doctors and the professors and the lawyers. But for the lawyers, they never had an opportunity to practice it in their own province because of historical settings not of their own making. But now, this court happens or comes at a time when this province is turning the corner. And I say to the members of the legal fraternity, don't let this opportunity slip by. I want you to be there when this sleeping giant reawakens so slowly. Because when this province turns the corner and becomes the powerhouse, it will require the best legal minds to untangle the most complex matters, either arising from the mining deals or business deals, or even government entangled into contracts that have to be interpreted. And I want you as the members of the Polokwane Society of Advocates to be there when those problems are solved and to be the ones who are at the center of solving those problems. This province is special to my heart, and it is so special to all the members of this society. When this bar was to be formed, it was a combination of a desire of two junior advocates who approached me and they said that, Mr. Mkari, we want to go back home and practice law. Can you help us establish a bar there? I said, why? Do you want me to do it for you? They said, because we know that when we tell you to do something, you'll do it. And I said that if you can help me to do it, then we'll do it. And I gave them assignments to perform. And they indeed became foot soldiers. They conducted research and did everything. And they brought a report to me. They said that we have done our work, it is feasible. It was on that basis that in June 2014, those members, together with a few, gathered in Blue Valley, in Midrand, and they established this society. And they passed that resolution. Can you give them a round of applause for that? Today, we're here because of their vision. It is not my vision, it is their vision. It is not my bar, it is their bar, it is your bar. This is a historical moment which, unlike 100 years from now, when our grandchildren celebrate its centenary, they must say, we know that our fathers, our forefathers, gathered on this day, the 12th of September 2015, to inaugurate this bar as the first bar ever to be established in a democratic South Africa. They will look back with pride because at that time when this bar celebrated centenary, Limpopo province will not be the way it is. If you were at that time, if you will be dead and you were to wake, to rise from the dead, you will not recognize it because it will be indeed a powerhouse at that time. So this is a bar that I would like to be remembered for being the bar that was established precisely to untangle the problems of the past, the problems that black advocates are facing, the briefing patterns. This is a bar that must change all that. It must be a non-racial bar, and it must continue to be a non-racial bar. Ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to say to you, I present to you the Polokwane Bar, or the Polokwane Society of Advocates, as the first ever bar. And I do so in my capacity as the first ever chairman of this bar. Ladies and gentlemen, let me end by emotionally thanking the members of the Bar Council. Let me say to you, you must know that you're going to go down in history as the first members of this bar association. Those of you who are present, may you stand up so that they see you. The members of the Bar Council of Polokwane Society of Advocates. Stephen Matawata, you are the first secretary of this bar. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring this occasion. May it never end. And to all of you who will join it now and in the future, may you never fail. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? The chairperson, the first ever chairperson of the Polokwane Society of Advocates, speaking to us from the heart about the ideal of excellence that this bar is intent upon achieving, about coming back home and rendering a service of excellent quality where that service is needed the most. At this stage, just perhaps quoting, although not verbatim, from the previous speaker, our very own chairperson, that this bar is indeed an affiliate of the General Council, the GCB, and which leads us to the next speaker, namely Advocate Mecaps Mutimele. But before I ask of you, Advocate Mutimele, to approach, allow me please to acknowledge the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services and Minister Masuta. Thank you for honoring us with your presence tonight. Thank you, Minister. Mecaps Mutimele, Advocate Mecaps Mutimele, please take to the podium on behalf to give a word of encouragement and a congratulatory message on behalf of the GCB. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my particular pleasure to acknowledge the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, the Premier of the province, and one of my best politicians, Premier Matabata, Stanley Matabata. I'm looking around, the Judge President of the province, Judge President Makhuba, the Deputy Judge President of Gauteng province, Deputy Judge President Mojapelo, His Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is particularly heartening for me to be here tonight to address you as the Deputy Chairperson of the General Council of the Bar. But first thing first, I was informed that this is an inauguration of the Polokwane Society of Advocates and hence a happy occasion. I thought the mood would be very festive. You'll be relaxed, you'll be sitting back, but I can sense the tension in there. Perhaps maybe because the chairperson of the society, Mukaliasi, decided to speak from the heart and was emotional about tonight, and he was entitled to do so. And in being emotional, he saved me of my own emotions because he said the things I would have loved to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I also hail from Limpopo, from this part of the world. And those of you who don't know where Limpopo is, Limpopo is one of the 9 provinces of the Republic of South Africa, Democratic Republic of South Africa. And I explain it in the words of W.E.B. Du Bois when he talked about his own states in the U.S. He says, and I quote, and this is opposite for Limpopo, that Limpopo is a province north of the country and yet south of the continent. That's where you'd find Limpopo perched, very peaceful province. It has been, because of the painful past, that bars constituent bars in the fold of the GCB were all in the major centers where there were economic activities, and we all left our homes, beloved parents, families, as migrant workers and sojourners in our own country to go and become advocates, because the bars were at the center all those economic activities. And I think, Mokali, you are right that it's fitting that Limpopo should have a bar. And that bar, the first of the bars in Limpopo, because, and I say the first of the bars in Limpopo, because the GCB is seized with another application of a bar from Limpopo. The Towando Society of Advocates. You know that the Gauteng, the Limpopo High Court has its seat in Polokwane, and there is a local seat in Towando. So to the Polokwane Society of Advocates, I would say congratulations. Mukali, well done for bringing us all home. But remember, the first duty of a free slave is to free another slave. That's the duty of a free slave. The task is greater. You have brothers who are practicing in Tawando. It's a bar in existence. That bar is not in the fold of the General Council of the Bar. We would like that bar to be in the fold of the General Council of the Bar, and we look forward to the Society of Advocates, Polokwane, your society, to assist them with training, with all the logistics and housekeeping to enable them to do pupillage and to become a fully fledged bar, because there is a local court there. And ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the next point. Why a bar? Why a referral profession need a bar? A bar is, and I have always wondered why a bar is next to the courthouse. And I thought it doesn't need any brain. It must be one of those easiest things, because the advocates are nearer the court. They can run across the road and go and represent their client. And one day in the common room, 25 years ago to be more specific, I ventured this wise opinion in the presence of colleagues. And one colleague who is no more with us, Mendele QC, turned around and looked at me and shake his head and says to me, young man, the proximity of the bar has nothing to do with the convenience of counsel, but with the bench. You are near the court so that when judges need you, you close by, and the purpose of a bar is to take care of the bench foremost. I would like, with great humility this evening, on behalf of the General Council of the Bar, to repeat this to the Society of Advocates, Polokwane. Your beautiful location, your proximity to the court has nothing to do with your convenience. Your convenience is by the by. Two things. One, it's for you to be close to the bench, and two, to be readily accessible to your clients. Now that's the first thing. The second thing, which I think it's equally important, and the chairperson mentioned it, is Mukali. The referral profession, it's a very demanding profession, somehow satisfying, and I see from the younger generation that it might well be lucrative. What you put in is exactly what you get out. But I would like to say that the first thing I think the society should do in Polokwane is to establish two committees of the Bar Council. One is the pro bono committee for the community around and the people in Limpopo to appreciate the importance of the occasion and the importance of the bar. We're going to have to go out as the bar and serve the people, deliver good services, and a good number of them would not be able to pay for those services in monetary terms. But the satisfaction, the referral, and the stature and the importance of the bar, if we can bring justice closer to the people, defend their rights, they would appreciate the importance of the bar. And you'll see that the old structuring and old apartheid mentality of the old PWB Gauteng, people going south to Pretoria, Johannesburg for counsel, will slowly cease and stop, because you, ladies and gentlemen, would have taken your rightful position, be the advocates, good advocates, we all know you are, but you're going to be much more. You're going to go beyond that and make justice a reality, and the preamble in the Constitution that we, the people, from this republic, which is based on the values of social justice, equality, and human rights. And I think those values would be noted and will take the bar to the level that we want it to be. In conclusion, before I start losing my emotions, and you can't have two men, all of them losing it, both one after the other. We should keep something. In conclusion, let me talk to the colleagues, and I bring the message from the GCB. The society has been welcome in the fold. We will be meeting on the 9th or the second week of November as the Executive Committee of the General Council of the Bar, and one of the order of business will be the Society of Advocates, Polokwane. And one of the things we'll do will be to deal with the constitutional proposal, which will be led by Pretoria. And I see the chairperson of the Society of Advocates, Pretoria, is right in front of me, Nana Makuela SC. And I've no doubt, Nana, all those amendments are purely housekeeping and just to tidy up. So we're all looking forward. There's an excitement of buzz in the air. And colleagues, I'm just fresh from Prague, from the IBA, where South Africa was honored. I was elected the deputy chair of the Forum for Barrister and Advocates in the IBA. And I have no doubt that it had nothing to do with the individual who was appointed, but it was the honor to all those men and women who held the baton during the difficult days. And in honoring me in that manner, I had no doubt the IBA was honoring South Africa and was honoring you. So, the world has high regard of you, your leaders, your country, but the jurisprudence, the quality of law, the judgments, the representation, and how South African lawyers stand tall and regarded in other jurisdictions is something to marvel at. And I want you to know that you are the best. You're not second fiddle to anybody. It might well be that your opportunity came slightly late than others, but who cares? I've seen races being won by those who wear the bag. And indeed, I can say without any fear of contradiction that those who win races are those who touch the tape first and not those who led. So the tape is in front of you. Sprint out and touch the tape. One day we will be the great nation we think we are. Amen. Lindy has had a very bad influence on me over the years. I thought I would resist it. She says to me, go back, go back, go back. So I did resist it, but I went back. For reasons other than those, she wants me back here. Mkali, this province, I listened to you. I thought you were a chief of staff from the Premier's office. I mean, giving a eulogy of Limpopo. I wonder how much you would have been paid for that. I think we should record it. It's a beautiful eulogy. It then gave me an idea that this province indeed has heroes and heroines. And maybe they haven't always been recognized in the manner in which they should. Perhaps when you and your council sit under any other business, you might want to have an agenda item, add an agenda item, what you want to call Polokwane Society of Advocates. I like Polokwane from Petersburg, but this society is a living thing. I mean, it must represent, I walk around Joburg, I see Piche chambers, I see Dumanoko chambers. I think there are heroes and heroines in Polokwane, and give that chamber a name. And I think your council in your wisdom will find a name what to call those chambers. And once you give it a name, I'll be back to celebrate that name. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Advocate Mutimele. Food for thought for you over there. Our very own chairperson, Advocate Mukari SC. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, may we invite to the podium the Premier of the province. The original intention was that our very own Premier would be presented somewhat differently, but things have since changed. And ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Premier, Honorable Premier Stanley Matabata.
Thank you, Program Director. Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Minister Masuta. Our host, the Chairperson of Polokwane Society of Advocates, Advocate William Mukari, and your entire leadership collective. Judge President of the Limpopo Division of the High Court, Judge Makhoa. Deputy Chairperson of the General Council of the Bar, Advocate Mutimele. Other judges present here. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Dame, I am told by the person who was introducing guests, who also happened to be from this beautiful province called Limpopo, that Nale Mahoshimo, Ketarata Watamisha Lona, Keravalena Bakadifukain, Bakamafatinga Matelele, Maparangwa Majarata Mara, Badulakan Kupule. Kerra tama baka ritia binyachiwa lotwana bo tloga go khoma fase lopo la khoro le a leswanela. Program Director, let me start first by extending my appreciation to the leadership of the Polokwane Society of Advocates for your thoughtful and generous invitation. More especially on this wonderful day, the day when we commemorate the passing on of one of our gallant fighters, one of our most refined revolutionaries that South Africa has ever produced, one of the most brilliant leaders that South Africa has ever produced. In the name of Bantu Stephen Biko, who brought a lot of impetus to the revolution of South Africa when it was not fashionable to do so, with a very wonderful and gravity-defying militancy. We today commemorate him. We remember him. We are saying we are here today having what is known as Limpopo or Polokwane Society of Advocates because of the efforts of this wonderful son of Africa, wonderful son of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we indeed feel honored to be afforded this rare opportunity to mingle and interact with the top legal minds of our country. We have come here to express a message of support on behalf of the provincial government and indeed on behalf of all the people of Limpopo. We are here to wish you well, advocates. Without doubt, the launch of this all-important Polokwane Society of Advocates comes with huge relief to attendees practicing in this province and our people in general. As you would know, until today, attorneys in this part of our country had no choice but to make long southerly trips so that they can be able to access the services of advocates. Those advocates practicing in Pretoria in particular have benefited a lot from this trend. I also know that most of you, if not all, had to find temporary domicile outside this province simply because the province had no business for you. This surely has been accompanied by a chain of inconveniences and an avoidable cost to the main client, who is an ordinary man on the streets. The establishment of this division, the establishment of a division of High Court in this city has indeed come with some positive spin-offs. Both this establishment of the Limpopo Division of High Court and today's launch of your society breathe life to the clarion call contained in the Reconstruction and Development Program document, which said, and I quote, "The court system should be accessible, affordable, and should be able to be trusted by the people. The legal processes should be simpler and in people's own language," close quote. Indeed, even those who are most vulnerable in our society should be able to invoke the Constitution and law to protect themselves, whether in prison or in the farms or as domestic workers. As we all know, without access to quality legal representation, there can never be access to justice itself. Hence, I appreciated what you said, Chairperson, that everybody deserves best legal advice. Unlike, as a scholar of philosophy, there was a man called Plato. He was a very highly distinguished and respected philosopher. And he wrote a book called The Republic. Those who read that book would know, because in that book he talks about justice. What is justice? And he says justice is what is good for the powerful. That is his explanation of justice. The whole book he tries to explain and elucidate exactly that. Justice is what is good for the powerful. And if you look at the way in which the justice system works, generally, at some stage, our own people tend to think that jail is for those who are poor. Jail is for those who don't have money. Because if you have money, obviously, you'll get the best legal mind to protect you. And certainly, if you do have the best legal mind to protect you, the likelihood of going to jail becomes very, very slim. Ladies and gentlemen, your existence should therefore be about ensuring that our people, without regard to their socio-economic position, have access to the courts. This state-of-the-art, newly built court building will become an institution of mere symbolic significance if our people will not be able to access your services. As politicians, we desire to operate in a peaceful and stable environment with law and order. Often we tend to think that it is police and the army who can help us secure such stability and peace. But the truth, however, is that without justice, there can never be peace. For justice to take place, it requires not only a reputable court or a reputable court system that enjoys the confidence and respect of the people as a whole, because that also has to be supplemented by committed attorneys and advocates who take their job very seriously. And I've got no doubt that you've got such quality advocates in this House. As government, we have been represented by a number of you. I can see a number of faces who once represented us before. I know that the chairperson also represented us, Advocate Mukari, in a problem that had lasted for something like 3 years. Government was in and out of courts for about 3 years. But when we came in, we got Advocate Mukari into that problem. Within 3 months, we're done with Polokwane. Thank you for that. Program Director, once again, in congratulating you for your launch, I wish to challenge you to work harder to ensure that your society becomes an authoritative voice of advocates and a home for the most ethical and disciplined practitioners. Most ethical and disciplined practitioners. At some stage, when I was still young, a young university student and an activist, we had an argument about this issue of ethics and morality. Whether it has to do with right or wrong or what. But up till now, Minister, I think I'm now convinced that ethics and morality doesn't necessarily have to pivot around right and wrong, or right or wrong. It actually is anchored around good or bad. Not right or wrong. Good or bad. That is what ethics and morality is all about. What is right may not be good for the majority, irrespective of whether the laws of that time qualifies it to be right. I think the apartheid process and the apartheid system is example to that. Program Director, to achieve your objectives, Chairperson, you must commit yourselves to providing members with opportunities for mentoring the incoming and young minds into this profession. You must provide a dynamic platform for the discussion and exchange of ideas amongst members. Most importantly, you must never forget your obligation to giving back to the community. You must go beyond what you refer in your circle. Thank you very much, Advocate Mutimele. I was struggling with the pronunciation of this word, but fortunately you mentioned it. Thank you. What you refer in your circle as pro bono services. I hope I pronounced it properly, pro bono. Above all of this, you must be committed to openness, transparency, and accountability, because this will assist you to realize your objectives. Program Director, in conclusion, let me conclude my message of support by re-inviting everyone to work with us to breathe life to the idea of justice for all, the type of justice that knows neither race nor social status. I once again wish to congratulate you on your launch and wish your society a long and purposeful life. Congratulations and all the best to you, and thank you.
Ria leboga Matlhatši. Now, at this stage, may I welcome the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services to say a word or two congratulating us on the launch of the Polokwane Bar Association Society of Advocates.
Me and Lindy come some distance from the past. Can't recall how many classes ahead of her I was at the University of Limpopo back in the mid-80s. I'm not trying to reveal her age here, because I know everybody sees her as this very young, good-looking lady.
But the program director, Advocate Lindy Thomas SC, the Premier of Limpopo, Premier Stanley Matabate, the fresh from the box, newly appointed President of the fresh from the box, just recently built High Court of the province of Limpopo, Judge Makhoba, the Deputy Chair of the GCB, Advocate Makeps Mtimele, who for many years, many of us young lawyers as we grew up looked up to people like him. In fact, he has been a household name from the days when I was still a student at university studying law. And it's really pleasing to see you still running and still looking as young as you look. And of course, the celebrity of the night, Advocate Nkari SC. May I just, in passing, say a word or two about you. On a Sunday morning, a few months ago, I received a call indicating that I was a first respondent and one amongst a series of government ministers and other functionaries in a matter involving a certain president of a certain country in Africa. And I immediately requested my office to activate the legal firepower that throughout the week preceding that incident, we were assured by senior officials in government was on standby, only to find that none such firepower had been put in place. We went to court at the North Gauteng High Court, and there was a junior counsel, a white female, who was made available for the first round because we had 2 hours within which to respond to an urgent application without any senior counsel at that point in time. It was around 11 o'clock. I think the papers were served at 9. And after the first sitting, we learned of a gentleman who was going to come in to fortify the team on behalf of government in responding to the urgent application. And it turned out to be Advocate Nkari. And it is for that reason that he was only able to take over and lead our defense when the court resumed later in the day, I think at about 3 o'clock that afternoon, and hence on. I'm relating this story because I think that it needed to be told at some point that somebody at a time of need, when all else failed, stepped forward under very challenging circumstances and actually stuck his neck out for the good of this country. And I'm not sure if those circumstances were ever made public.
So, as Minister of Justice and as first respondent in that matter, I thought it was befitting of me to acknowledge you, to acknowledge your contribution and support that you gave us on that Sunday morning at a time of need. I know many commentators have said many things about what happened in court and how we lost the first round. But I do think that the fact that you were bold enough under such circumstances to step forward was indeed laudable. Let me proceed to acknowledge further other guests, special guests present here. We have the newly appointed, not so new, but recently appointed National Director of Public Prosecutions, Sean Abrams. Thank you for coming, but also thank you for the partnership that we have been able to forge in the short period that you have been appointed in that position. I think that we can, with greater confidence, hope that a very critical institution in our democracy, namely the National Prosecuting Authority, is finally on a path to reorganize itself and to transform itself to become the kind of institution that our people and our nation can put its faith in. Let me also acknowledge, if any other members of the bench, of the bar, and all other government representatives present here. Lena ke share mo premier ke leboge le go tlotla magosha rena ka ba wa le gona mo gare ga rena re ka spedi wa re shagola meng le bea ke mong gae le gare le bana ba mobu re magolo jale we have to acknowledge the fact that we have not been home, and therefore upon my appointment as Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, and in response to a challenge that the President put on my shoulders on the night when he called me to Mahlamba Ndlovu and informed me of his decision to entrust me with this responsibility, and that was to lead and to ensure the transformation of this profession. I, of course, as any other Minister of Justice would do, made my first pit stop at Constitutional Hill and met with the Chief Justice, and thereafter proceeded to meet with all the heads of courts of our high courts, including the special courts, as well as all members of the judiciary who were available upon my visits to their respective high courts, to meet and greet them, but also to extend a hand to the judiciary on behalf of the executive in terms
of and in line with Chapter 8 of the Constitution, which requires a person in my position, but equally all other organs of state, to give support to the judiciary and the courts to ensure their effectiveness, independence, and all other responsibilities that the Constitution entrusts them with. I have also made an effort to meet with all the different professional formations within the legal profession, NADEL, BLA, AFT, law societies, etc., and actually participated in a number of annual events and other occasions, in part also to share my own vision and objectives and priorities that I would want to put forward, that I believe this office should be pursuing during the currency of our responsibility that we have been entrusted with. I have further interacted with the leadership of the regional court and district court in order to appreciate the challenges that confront them as the lower judiciary as well as the lower courts, and hope soon to also interact with the Magistrates Commission. And I have finally started to do rounds, visiting the different regions of the Department of Justice and the Department of Corrections as well, in particular interacting with the regional offices of the State Attorney, Legal Aid, the NPA, Master's Office, Family Advocate, etc., all in a quest of having a fuller and better appreciation of the breadth of this profession and this portfolio, which I must say is extremely vast and extremely complex. I've also had the privilege to launch the new forum under the new Legal Practice Act, which hopefully will give advice on how to transform the profession as envisaged in that legislation. Now, I think the challenges that confront the profession in this country are the story, or epitomize the story of South Africa itself. We exist at the tip of a continent and are a piece of real estate which arguably is the wealthiest on earth in many respects. As others before me have indicated, in this province, for starters, we have started new mines, mining this precious metal platinum, the hardest metal on earth, with all its industrial and scientific significance. And that is one of many valued mineral resources that occur in abundance in our country. We're also endowed with biological treasures of all kinds, including of course, the recent archaeological finds that begin to explain further the scientific secrets of our origins. Why is South Africa where it is today economically? And where, in fact, is South Africa today economically? I would want to argue we are both one of the richest and prosperous, and yet one of the poorest and underdeveloped countries in the world, all in one, thanks to an unenviable past that we inherited some 20 years ago. It is a story of the failure of humanity, and yet it is a story of triumph, of good over bad, to follow the footsteps of the Premier about the definition of morality. And I believe one of the most immoral systems after slavery known to man was apartheid. It has left us where we are, to pick up the many pieces that are splintered and scattered all over this country in order to rebuild a nation that can pride itself amongst the most successful in the world. We have a real daunting challenge ahead of us. And I'm saying these things, and you may want to ask, but what is the relevance of all of that to today's occasion? And indeed, I accept the challenge by Advocate Mdimele. Tonight is a night to celebrate and not to be lamenting. But in celebrating, I think we need to reflect on why we should celebrate. We do not celebrate because we have overcome the challenges of the past, certainly not in this profession. We still have woeful underrepresentation of black people and Africans in particular in this profession, and women and African women especially. So yes, we have these challenges to confront. So the launch of an initiative such as this in one of the provinces which have been characterized as having borne the worst of the brand of apartheid, as was said earlier, in that it was the most economically ignored and developmentally starved amongst the many parts of our country, and yet it is proving to be the province that is going to chart the way forward in pursuit of the ideals that we have so aptly articulated in our National Development Plan of ensuring prosperity for all our people. And it is a province that has demonstrated that it has the potential, not only in terms of the many resources that are embedded in its belly, but also the potential that the people of this country provide this province to develop it to become one of the most prosperous, as Advocate Mukari has so aptly outlined. I believe that what separates a prosperous nation from a nation that is underdeveloped is one critical aspect. That is
the quality of human capital that that country has been able to invest. Because it is only through people that you can develop. It's not through machines, it's not through natural resources. There's one single natural resource which, if fully beneficiated, determines the pace and the extent of development you can record as a country. There is the notion of high-end skills, and the legal profession constitute one such category of so-called high-end skills, without which no nation, I believe, or would argue, will ever achieve the levels of development that has been recorded in some of the leading nations in the world. And so I believe that this occasion is not of small significance. It is symbolic in many ways, but it is much more than symbolic in even more ways. It is the story of a fundamental shift from underdevelopment to development, which, as I said, has been so aptly articulated in our own National Development Plan. But it is also a story, as the Premier has indicated, about bringing access to justice by ensuring that our people are not only physically closer to courts and all the many role players that run courts, including this profession, but it's also about making justice affordable and within reach for people. And I hope the latter will be one of the aspirations of the new bar, that of ensuring, as the Premier indicated, that the people of Limpopo can afford and can access the high quality legal services which this bar, we believe, will make itself available to render. Now, very soon the President of the Republic will be launching in this province, a few kilometers from where we are, the first high court ever built in democratic South Africa. It's a very beautiful court. I was here about a week or so ago, had the privilege to visit the court and assess the state of readiness of that court. I've also taken opportunity to meet with the City Council to discuss some of the teething problems that still need to be ironed out to bring the operations of the court on stream. As I said earlier, one of the things I remind the judiciary when I meet them is that, as envisaged in Chapter 8 of the Constitution, all organs of state are obligated to support the courts to ensure their efficacy. And therefore, one of the messages I conveyed to the municipality is that they are equally obligated under Chapter 8 of the Constitution to ensure that there will be water reticulation in the court, there will be roads leading to the court, there will be proper electrical supply to the court, and all other services which a court, like any other institution, requires to be able to function, and that all of us have
an obligation at all spheres of government to provide that support. This province is also a place where many other new policies and legislative arrangements that we have initiated are going to find expression. On the 1st of December last year, for example, we launched a project of rationalizing the jurisdictional boundaries of magistrates' courts, and equally have embarked on the same breath in reviewing the jurisdictional boundaries of courts, of higher courts, including the launching of local seats as a tool of bringing greater access to courts for our people. So in this province, we have determined that the Venda High Court will be established as a local seat with a new jurisdictional area that will ensure that all people of Limpopo within reach of that court get the full benefit of the full services that a high court can render from that local seat. For the rest of the province, the new Limpopo High Court will provide services until such time as we have been able to establish further local seats, so that people who live, for example, in Bilabela do not have to travel to Polokwane to access services, so that a local seat is established closest to where they live, where they can access full services that they could otherwise have been able to receive at the seat of the court here in Polokwane. We, of course, will continue to use circuits as a means of ensuring greater access. I've already raised the issue of the rules that limit the powers of circuits to deal fully with court processes, so that the Rules Board should begin to reflect on ways of ensuring that circuits are able to provide full services and therefore make real the quest of ensuring access. Now, the issue of transformation of the profession gives me sleepless nights, I must confess, because on every occasion that I've sat with the Director General of the Department of Justice, I have sat with Legal Aid, they have given me assurances and produced documents and asserted that the records are fully audited, that confirm that as we speak, no less than 76% of legal work that is dished out, if that's the appropriate English, to private practitioners goes to the so-called historically disadvantaged persons, women, black people, etc. On the same breath, the various progressive formations in the profession the judiciary, the Chief Justice has expressed himself on various public platforms challenging
that assertion. I've come to accept that I may not be competent to do everything that is necessary to address some of these challenges. And I've decided to put my energy into resolving the issue of the appointment of a Solicitor General who is meant to lead the State Attorney as an institution and help me develop a proper policy framework that will enable us to address and drive the issue of transformation in the profession using state muscle, firstly through briefs, but also policy and legislative reforms that would tackle the issue of transformation in the private sector itself. I know that I've been challenged on my theory that if, using my own estimation, 2/3 of the economy is in the hands of the private sector, private firms, it therefore stands to reason that the bulk, maybe in the order of 2/3, of professional work, be it accounting or engineering or legal services, is actually procured by private firms. And therefore, in as much as we may succeed in directing the allocation of work from government, unless we address the question of who the private firms brief or give instructions to, and ensuring that there is transformation in that regard, we shall not have dealt with the matter in its fullness. I also believe that we need to deal with the issue of skills transfer. And here I am not only recognizing pre-existing skills that white practitioners and white firms may have accumulated over the years, but I am including our own brothers and sisters, including some of you seated here, that you have an even greater responsibility over and above seizing the opportunities that are opening up to prosper and to grow, but to take along with you the young and upcoming men and women, especially young African women, many of whom have become disillusioned because of a feeling of marginalization and exclusion. I'm inclined to believe that this is still very much a men's world, and we have to do something to address the question of gender transformation. I witnessed this on the day of the launch of the Legal Practice Forum, where out of the 19 positions that the profession had to put forward or nominate to serve on the forum, only 4 of the 19 were women. I then seized the opportunity to appoint 2 additional women to complete the complement of the forum at 21, which raised the number of women on that forum to 6. And then approached the forum again to suggest a chair and a deputy chair for the forum. It's anyone's guess. 2 men were proposed. Black men for chair and white men for deputy. Since the legislation empowered me to have the final say, I decided to take the black man, make him deputy, and appoint an African woman who I believed was the most experienced lawyer in the room anyway, rightly or wrongly, to become the chair of the forum. I intend to have closer interaction following their submission of the first report about a month ago or so, to really address the question of how best can we use the new act to shape the path towards transformation of the profession going forward. And I look forward to the advice that I expect from that forum that would assist me in ensuring that we achieve that transformation. Let me conclude by thanking you all for allowing me this opportunity. As a son of the soil myself, having been born and grown up here and studied here, as many I'm sure around this room have, regardless of where you're practicing today or working, to express my sincere gratitude for inviting me back home tonight so we can all celebrate an achievement that might just help many of us at some point in our careers and in our lives to have reason to come back home.
Minister of Justice and Corrections, thank you very much. There's a request, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, that should mention that we are live on SABC channel 404, and live streaming of this event is currently underway. That's just something that I've been requested to announce. At this stage, whilst our keynote speaker is getting himself ready to take the podium, not yet, JP, we're going to ask a band called Ola. Ola is a saxophonist, I'm given to believe, and he's just going to render an item whilst the JP is getting himself ready. Ola, please approach.
Okay. Okay. Play the CD. Okay. Technical, let's do this. Come on. Play the CD. Number 2. Yeah.
you, Ola, our very own homegrown talent. Thank you. Let's put our hands together. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me, before I present the keynote speaker, to acknowledge Justice Khanyaho, who has taken time to come and celebrate this event with us. You are welcome, Justice. And yes. Now, secondly, or rather lastly, allow me please to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote. I hope I'm not going to be in trouble with the technical people. I hope I managed to put it back to where it was. Allow me please to invite the local JP to the podium. JP.
Mr. Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Masuta, the Premier of the Province, Mr. Matabata, the Deputy Judge President of Gauteng Division, Justice Mjapelo, Mr. Mukari, SC, Chairperson of the Polokwane Society of Advocates, Vice Chairperson of the GSP, Advocate Mtimele SC, my colleagues, and all council, senior, and everybody present here, I greet you this evening. It is an honor and privilege indeed for me to say to you tonight that I'm humbled indeed to be the first person to welcome and in fact witness the launch of the first Bar Council or Society of Advocates in this part of the country, namely in Limpopo province. I heard a lot of speakers previously saying the first, talking about the first Society of Advocates in the province, talking about the first High Court in the province, talking about the first Judge President in the province, first. Indeed, is the first. Mr. Minister, I recall when I met you recently on the 2nd of July, when I had to meet you in my capacity as a Judge President formally, you said to me, Judge President, you've got a challenge in front of you. You are the first Judge President of Limpopo and the head of the first court built and established by a democratic South Africa. That's what you said to me. You said it's a challenge. Indeed, it's a challenge, but let me say this to you, sir. I accept the challenge. And I trust not only me alone, but together with my other colleagues, we will really make it work. We are so fortunate that when we start this work, we find ourselves in the midst of brilliant ideas from the bar, when the Society of Advocates launches or starts operating in our province, and we do welcome them wholeheartedly. Before I go on, may I also acknowledge with thanks and humility for that matter, the presence of Mr. Sean Abrams, the National Director of Public Prosecutions. Sir, I really feel indebted and honored by your presence. You come to a new division as a National Director of Public Prosecution. Hopefully, you'll bring us your deputy who will be stationed here, who will come with the first also, and the good ideas also. Thank you, sir, for being with us here. Let me go back a little bit, maybe say down memory lane. Recently, when I was interviewed for this position I am in today, I did not think I was fooling the panel, nor was I trying to impress them. But I said this wholeheartedly. I answered certain questions by saying this. When the question came as to, is there any other relevant matter which you would like to bring to the attention of the Commission? Then I said yes, and this is what I said. Two things. One, I said, South Africa needs a judge president with moral authority, gravitas, leadership qualities, and judicial intelligence to lead the judiciary through difficult times and dangerous minefields. And I went on to say, I'm capable, if appointed to such a position, to respond to this noble call. Secondly, I said the following: the pool for aspirant judges, in particular women, seems to be dwindling. This is a serious challenge to us to embark on extensive judicial training and advocacy to produce suitable candidates for judicial appointments. This will be my vision as Judge President. Let me say tonight and repeat, this is the vision which we have to build the Limpopo Division of the High Court as one of the pinnacles of justice in this part of the country. We wish and want to see ourselves being counted among the best division in the country in terms of delivery of good judgments and so on. I have no doubt, Mr. Mukari, that with your team we will really make it. I was very scared, let me confess. Recently, for the past few months when I was here, as we were operating in the courts here, I saw this court being invaded. Sorry to say that. Invaded, but what are you to say? Some fly-by-night advocates. To an extent that at one stage I had culprits, I caught up with culprits, people who dared to appear in the High Court without credentials. Even attorneys trying to appear in court without the right of appearance in court. Then I thought, this is really quite daring. Maybe they think that the SNU court will take chances and so on. But as I've said, that the Society of Advocates is near us here with the ethical values which they carry with them. We know our judiciary or our division will be in good hands. And we do promise indeed that we'll do our best as a judiciary to carry the flame of justice to the high level. Indeed, the High Court of Limpopo is in operation as it has been for some years now, although operating on a temporary structure. We are about to move to a new court. My minister is here. I'm glad he's here. Maybe he can tell us when he's going to proclaim. I'm waiting for his proclamation sooner or later. And that proclamation will be accompanied by delimitation or declaration of the jurisdictional area of the court in Polokwane as the main seat, as well as the local seat in Toyando. Now, when we come to the jurisdiction of the court, I do not wish to focus what's going to go on, but I believe genuinely that if there is a Limpopo provincial division, then the jurisdiction will be provincial. Mr. Premier, please help me there with your political powers. You are the Premier of this province. If you have a High Court as a provincial division, let it be the High Court of the province. Then there are some silly ideas developing somewhere. People thinking that a person in Varambad or in Tabazimbo will think Polokwane is far nearer to Pretoria. I don't mind concurrent jurisdiction, but let me say to you, I haven't had a person in Sasolburg or Parys, which is in Free State, crying to go and litigate in Johannesburg because it's nearer than Bloemfontein. I haven't heard that. I wish I'm not going to hear a story that a person in Varambad, or Wombat rather, or Bela Bela as we call it now, a person in Bela Bela in Tabazimbi says, Polokwane is very far now rather than I'm in Pretoria. But all I know, political boundaries, they are in Limpopo. I wish the proclamation would be along those lines. Let me leave it to the powers that be for now. To you, my advocates, I say to you, I think you are well aware that I've already proclaimed the practice manual for the court. They were signed off on the 12th of August, and they became operative from the 1st of September. So the practice manual is there. Your tools of trade are there. You can get on with your work. Thank you very much. As to the opening of the court, when we move in there, the minister has already indicated that in due course that will be in operation. Let me then say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that having a strong bar or advocacy near us will help us as the judiciary indeed to come out with sensible, strong, binding judgments. Because our belief is the following, that the court judgments are there to be respected. And we repeat and we emphasize as judges that court judgments are for all seasons. They are not like a garment, like your jersey, which you put on when you feel cold during winter and discard it during summer. But with a court judgment, is there to live with and respect it forever. You don't discard it. And what we need is an unwavering and unconditional support for the judiciary as an institution. In the whole country, of course. There's one aspect where I'm proud of, and I'm proud to say that the judiciary has made its mark and it has won when it comes to that aspect. And this is that the judges have always, and they should always, not allow and must not allow their personal and subjective views on policy matters to influence their decision. This we are prepared to uphold as judges. We as judges are calling upon you, politicians, legal practitioners, to help us to strengthen the justice system in this country. The biggest threat of our democracy, as you all know, is corruption. The question is, as the advocacy, members of the bar, and we as the judiciary, how do we together, with the help of the and cooperation of the politician, try to get rid of this malady? Because the biggest threat to our democracy is the corrupt civil servant, a corrupt business person, a corrupt politician, a compliant, a controlled and pliable judicial officer who form such a dangerous team. But a fearless, independent judiciary is our last beacon in this country. So together, ladies and gentlemen, let us rise in union and defend it. I thank you all, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard for yourselves a pliable judiciary, controlled and so on. That's not the sort of thing that this country is looking for. Very wise words indeed. We need a strong, independent judiciary to rid us of this cancer called corruption. Well said indeed. The words of wisdom right there. Now, a colleague, advocate for a vote of thanks, Advocate Diamond, please. Please put your hands together for Advocate Diamond.
Thank you very much, Madam Director of Program, Minister of Justice, Mr. Premier, Mr. Justice Makgoba, our Judge President, members of the Judiciary, members of Parliament. I have been entrusted the graveyard shift, so I will be short. Thank you very much. I want to say you've just witnessed our Judge President. I've observed him in a meeting or two, and I saw that this man realized that it is time for the High Court of Polokwane of Limpopo, this child to be born. And as you can see, even if for a cesarean incision, he will bring him to life. He is dedicated to that. Mr. Justice Makgoba, thanks very much. All the dignitaries here tonight, thank you very much. Thank you for devoting your time to come and celebrate with the Polokwane Bar Society. We really, really appreciate that a lot. And can I say one thing? I want to conclude with one thing. You know, General MacArthur, the second in command in the Second World War, was getting a bit over-enthusiastic with the war, and President Truman did what good presidents should do in circumstances like that. He dismissed him. And when General MacArthur gave his speech before Congress, there was a line that he used that made him very famous. You all know that. He said, "Old soldiers never die. They simply faint away." Now, it didn't take long before the lawyers filed an amendment. And what they said is, old lawyers never die. They simply lose their appeal. Now, what I want to say tonight to you, ladies and gentlemen, we can promise you one thing, and that is that the Polokwane Bar will never lose its appeal. Thank you very much.
Well, that's a challenge to us. Are we sure, colleagues, that we're never going to lose our appeal? As I say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating, so only time will tell, I guess. Now, dinner is served. We have come to, not sure that to say, my favorite part of the program, certainly, because I can't wait to have something to bite. But thanks to our speakers, and as I say, dinner is served, and Ola, please take to the podium to serenade us, or what's the word, to entertain us as we enjoy dinner. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.